Do you want to take a guess as to what this is? Well, let's pan down and see what it turns into. That, my friends, is a duck confit leg. And today, I'm going to show you how to make this. Duck confit is a wonderful treat. A Parisian classic is having duck confit with bitter greens and a mustard vinaigrette. Heaven. But having duck confit on hand, you could create so many other dishes. And we're going to break it down for you right now. Stay tuned. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Brian's Table. I'm Brian Singh, and today we are going to be making duck confit. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? And it's always served at the fanciest of restaurants. But you know what? It's super easy to make. And we're going to break it down for you today. But first, what about duck? You know, we in North America tend not to eat as much duck, and we tend to revere it as a specialty meat. And that should really not be the case, because when you go over to Asia, duck is a regular protein there, and in Europe, you pick it up at the grocery quite regularly. You know, duck breast, if you know how to cook it and render that fat, it's a lovely addition to making a protein and a main for a dinner party. One duck breast would easily feed 2 to 3 people, and you could get a good duck breast, sometimes in the ballpark about $20 to $25, maybe even cheaper if you get on sale. Duck legs are also readily available. You could put them on the grill, and as I'm going to show you today, how to confit them. But you can go to an Asian grocery store if they do have a prepared food department. You can get a roast duck, typically for under $20, you may get half a duck. A whole duck may be about $30. And you can strip that meat off, and you could turn that into soups, salads, even add it to rice and noodles to do stir fry. And you could use that carcass to make an incredibly rich stock. And you can make a duck soup out of it, or use it to even make pho. So that duck, next time you're in the grocery and you see a whole duck or you see the parts of the duck, why don't you just pick it up? And hopefully you'll be inspired to give this recipe a try, or a duck recipe on its own. But today we're going to be making duck confit, so let's break it down. Usually you can pick up duck legs individually packaged and vacuum sealed, or as I got it in this case, I got 2 to a package. Because I live in Calgary, duck legs do tend to be a bit pricier, but if you live in an area where duck is readily consumed, or that there is an Asian grocery, you're going to most probably get duck legs. I paid about $20 for 2. You most probably be able to get them for about $6 to $7 each. Really good deal. When you get it like this, you could either just stick it in the freezer and keep it until you're ready, because it's already vacuum sealed. But the other thing too about this is, if you really just not too bothered about technique, you can stick this directly into the sous vide machine, and I'm going to show you my sous vide machine and the technique shortly. But and that way you can season it when you cook it after. How I like to do it, I like to take it out now and I rinse it. Let's go. What I do in rinsing it is I want to get out all of that blood and any of the meat juices that may be attached to the butcher. So just as a basic sanitary process, give it a rinse. Great. And to get the best out of your duck confit, a critical step is to make sure it's dry. So I have a paper towel here ready, where I put my duck legs on. And remember, folks, when you have meat and blood, always rinse it off to make sure when you do dispose of it, it's not going to smell. Pro tip. Just dab the duck breast, make sure it's nice and dry. Let me go over my other ingredients while that's drying. This couldn't be simpler. I got my Dalmatian blend, which is kosher salt and black pepper already blended, so in a ratio which I like. I have 2 types of garlic here. You could use fresh garlic, but because this is a long, slow process, one of my favorite hacks, I gotta show this to you. I really love using the large garlic flakes. What they are freeze-dried garlic chips, and they are just packed full of garlic flavor. I like to use this to make my own garlic powder. I just crush it up on demand, but I love having this around, and this gives a lovely garlic flavor when it's just used in terms of its whole flake, and it's a great substitute for using fresh garlic in this. I'm going to do it 2 ways, so that way we have the ability to taste it, but I did do an earlier batch where I used fresh garlic. The last step is using thyme. Thyme is a lovely herb that goes really well with duck, and because if you're thinking down the road in terms of wine pairing, thyme is a very versatile flavor that pairs well with wine. The principle here that I want to emphasize to you is because we're going to do a long, slow, almost not quite a braise, but again, it's a sous vide slow cook. You have the ability to impart flavor on that duck. And how I'm choosing to do this is through a combination of something fresh and dry and herbaceous. And with a little salt and pepper, that adds a lovely balanced flavor to the duck for any subsequent uses you're going to use it. So if you're going to be using it for a spicy application, you may actually want to put like a chili pepper in this to impart a little bit of heat to your duck. So use the principle of something aromatic, herbaceous, and maybe warm or regular spice in a reasonable proportion. You don't need to use a lot, and you can impart that flavor on the duck that you could use in the application you want to use that duck meat for. All right, so let's now prepare this for the next step. So as you can see, I have my ducks nicely dried here. One critical step at this point, and I want to emphasize this, when you get duck confit, you see the bone of the leg. Traditionally, you hope that the skin pulls back and everything just lumps into a nice lump of meat here. But what I like to do is I just score it all around like that. And that way, the meat should pull away nicely. So think of it like lamb shank, that lower part of the lamb leg, which is really nice and meaty and is served on the bone. And remember, again, when you do cut that part of the tendon on the leg, it balls up and it creates a lovely chunk of meat for you to enjoy. All right, so we have that all set up. I'm just gonna rinse my hands. Always good kitchen hygiene. There we go. At this point, we want to salt and pepper this side. So I'm just gonna drizzle from above. Again, you don't want to have too much at this stage because too much salt would draw out a lot of moisture, but because it is a sealed environment, you could risk getting your duck too salty. So just a little bit of the stage. Let's flip it over. And again, you want to sop up any of that salt and pepper there. And let's salt and pepper this side too. And we're going to do this one just a little bit different. So I'm going to take a little bit of thyme, and time is on my side. Terrible. And I'm going to put that on top here, resting against the meat. Doesn't need to be fancy. You just need to be able to cover the zone and let the time do its work. Small world fact. Do you know that the male duck has almost a 10-inch penis? Other weird duck facts. All right, but you know, when you think about duck is really a sustainable protein. And in this era of thinking about climate action, we should all do our part to maybe think about the proteins that we consume. So I like having the duck because it is a red meat, it's versatile, and almost everything that I could do with beef, I can do with that. And ducks tend to take up a lot less space. So go out there, demand that we have more duck in the grocery, and do your part for climate action by doing that. For this one, I'm going to use a few garlic flakes here. And that should bring a lot of pungency to it, but let me show you what I did with the other ones. I literally just smashed some garlic like this. Really handy way to get rid of garlic. Just get rid of the skin. And I just slivered it very simply, like that. And I'll do this piece too. And then I'm just going to rest it right over here. We have our duck legs seasoned here, salt and peppered, and we've given them the kiss of fresh herbs with the thyme, and we have dry garlic on, and we have fresh garlic on the other. So the next step is to vacuum seal, and I want to show you how I do that first, and it's kind of an important step. One thing when you are vacuum sealing any meat or vegetables, I want to show you what I like to do. I have an example here, as I had in my hand before, of having what you're aiming for. You need to fold back the lid, the rim of the bag. So I buy these vacuum bags. They are plastic. I use them strategically, so therefore I try not to use my sous vide too often and reliant upon plastic. But often in my sous vide unit, I do use it as a water bath. And that way I don't use any plastic whatsoever. Here's how you put it in. You put it in very carefully like that. Make sure that everything is still laying flat, because when it's sealed, everything is held in place. Right. And when you're done, you just undo this like that, and that way you now have the top of the bag ready for sealing. Quick visual inspection. There is no moisture in the lip area that you want to seal. I'm going to be using my new Anova chamber vacuum sealer for this. For this one here, you need to rest your duck in the bottom of the chamber, and the lip you want to be able to have here resting on the sealing device, and you want to pull this down, making sure that you get a good seal, and then put it on. I'm going to put on vacuum seal, normal, and let's give a Let's take her out, and there you go. Duck leg sealed and seasoned and ready for the sous vide. If you don't want to put it in the sous vide at this moment, you could freeze this and have it ready when you want to sous vide it. Alternatively, you can sous vide it now and then freeze it later. We'll get into that. So I've got my duck breasts all vacuum sealed here, and I'm going to put them in the sous vide unit. So this is my sous vide unit. It's a Sous Vide Supreme, and I gotta be quite honest, they don't make them quite like this anymore. You can see this one has its age, but a sous vide is basically a precise water bath. It allows you intense precision in cooking any food item. So if you want to set for instance, to cook a steak properly and to have it straight out of the sous vide, a medium to rare steak is at 133 to 138 65. So you're looking for internal temperature on a steak in Celsius, most probably around close to 60 degrees Celsius. And so the sous vide really helps you do that. And because it does not go higher than the temperature that you need, well, very slightly, because again, it does cycle, you really can leave food items in there a little bit longer and to get them to temperature, but not too long. Because again, you want to optimize the cooking time for this so that way it packs in the most flavor. So I've adapted this recipe from Kenji Alt-Lopez, one of my culinary heroes. He suggested doing a sous vide version of Duck Confit, and he suggested between 155 and 157 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going with 156. And when you think about it, intuitively it makes sense because duck and chicken are somewhat similar. They're both poultry. And the dark meat on duck, it could be served at a lower temperature and you're able to serve it rare. And a duck leg at 156 is fully cooked. So think about a chicken thigh. You want to be taking chicken thighs up to about 165 to be fully cooked. Duck, you can be operating at a lower temperature. So what I do with this at this point is I just take this and I'm going to put it in my bath. And I have another one here. I'm going to show you what it looks like. But those are going to be going in there, and those are going to be going in there for at least 36 hours. Yes, it takes that long. So what's great about this dish is really not a lot of active time, and the payoff is great. So let's take a look and see what this looks like. All right, I'm just going to put it down on the board here. At this point, you can see that the fat is fully rendered, and because this has been here for 2 days, the collagen has been broken down, and everything is very soft. This is fully cooked, and if you want to serve this now or strip it down and just use the meat, you can do that. But you really want to give that skin the opportunity to do its magic. So what I like to do at this stage is I like to stick this in the fridge and let the meat firm up, and then I clean off all of the excess liquid and fat and drain it. Let's do that. Here's the one I just took out of the fridge. As you can see here, you can see some of that lovely duck jus. You can see how the fat has set, and below there's the meat, and there is the time from before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up now, and this one I cooked for 36 hours, and you can see what this looks like. Let me just get my trusty kitchen scissors. There you go. And I'm just going to open this up here. And this is going to get a little messy, folks, okay? Let's take this out. Oh yeah. And I will recommend at this point, if you want to be making some lovely duck sauce, keep that separate. So I'm going to separate that out after. Make sure I get that lovely duck jus here. That will make a lovely sauce. I'm going to remove the thyme here, and I'm going to move the duck fat. And that's what duck confiting is, cooking in fat. Traditionally, duck confit is made in big vats, and you just put a ton of duck legs in them and render out that fat, or just immerse them in the delicious duck fat, and that will render out the fat on the duck, and it would also impart that lovely texture to the meat. Meat here, you can see the skin is on here. All the herbs and the garlic are removed. Oh, not quite there. There we go. And at this point, as this is fully cooked, I said that you could just strip the meat and use it as is. But let's get that magic off of the skin. I'm just going to rest it on the plate here, and we're going to take it to our frying pan. I'm just going to put my burner on low, let's say 2 or 3, And as you can see here, the meat has come a little bit loose from here. The meat is exposed here, and we're going to cook this first skin side down. So I'm going to rest this in a somewhat cool pan, and that's just going to rest there, and we're going to let the heat and the duck do its work. As that fat renders off of the skin, I'm just going to put a lid on loosely in case that starts to splatter. So I've loosened up very gently the duck leg from the pot, and so let's flip her over. So I'm just going to come in, there we go. And as you can see, yeah, I may have pushed the skin back a bit, but you can start to see here that skin is getting nice and crisp, and that's nice and crunchy. And this duck is, after a few more minutes on this side, we are almost done. I'm just going to put the lid on to let the final rendering go. A couple minutes on that side. On the other side, let's see what we have here. I take the lid off here, and we have, let's see if we can get the sound of that going. That's a crispy skin. And I'm just going to lift her out here and put her on the plate. And that, my friends, is a nice duck confit leg. We have a bit of oil left over there that we could use for pan frying other things. Can you hear that sound? I'm going to get my mic in close. That's crispy skin. Let's see what this looks like. Everything here is just going to pull right apart. Look how easy that's just falling apart here. And that is delicious, slowly cooked duck meat that is just ready for you to enjoy. And because a lot of the fat has been rendered out, it's somewhat healthier, and it's good fats. Duck fat is delicious. And if you want to keep that duck fat, cook some potatoes in it too. So I'm gonna have a little taste here. And if my eyes roll back in the back of my head, you know I'm enjoying this. All right. Cheers, folks. It's like meat candy. What can I say? That rich fattiness of the duck is there. It's the meat is beautifully cooked. There's a little texture off of the skin with a little bit of a crunch. Just a very pleasing experience on the palate. Have you ever had duck confit? And if you have, where did you enjoy it? Was it in Paris, or was it at some fancy restaurant, or did you make it at home? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks folks for watching. I really appreciate the time that you take in watching my videos and providing me feedback. And if you like what you're seeing, hit the like button and please subscribe. It will really help me understand how to improve this channel, improve my content, as well as understand how to grow my audience. And I really appreciate if you're able to help me do that. Duck confit. Get it in your repertoire if you're eating meat. If you're thinking more sustainable meat, also think duck. Also think a little bit fancier, but a weeknight meal, you too can enjoy duck. And with that, you too can taste the world just a little bit better. It's lovely when you just strip off all of the meat, and you could just chew on that like candy. Get every last bit out.